So the other day I was on Twitter and there was this post that some guy had made talking about how doing it anal with a babe is low-key gay and he can't be convinced otherwise. And a bunch of people were actually agreeing with the guy. But what just couldn't get past me was the fact that guys get head from shorties. And I know from talking to gay guys that, gay guys also give and receive head. So honestly, if the guy isn't convinced by that point, then I honestly don't know what it is with him and his issue with gay people. Anyways, much as I would love to show how daft his thought process is for that, I have a podcast to do. And speaking of podcasts, welcome to Break Time on Westside, your number one break time podcast coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. The man on the mic is none other than the same man who's been there himself, Sir Denver B. The show is Tweetstreet, where we take a deep dive into Twitter, or at least I do, and then we pull up a couple of tweets that we find to be fairly interesting, or at least I do, and then we discuss them, or at least I do. Now, actually, back to the whole story of the gay situation, or at least back to the whole story of gay. I am fairly aware that it is Pride Week right now. So for all my fellow listeners that are a part of the LGBTQIAP community, or LGBT or LGBTQ, if you wanted the short versions of it, happy Pride Week, or whatever the hell it is people usually tell y'all. Yeah, that's probably the most that I can give, because frankly I usually don't give a shit. Mostly because, I don't know, inclusion or some shit, I figured I might as well just mention that. So that being said, as I mentioned in Battle of the Sexes, for those of y'all that haven't listened, Break Time on Westside shall be going on its regular season breaks, where we just closed off Battle of the Sexes with episode 36, and we are closing off season 1 of Tweetstreet with this episode. Now, that being said, we shall be having something within the next 4 to 6 weeks worth of content that will sort of cater for you guys. It might be the minisodes. I might have a second host with me, and it might be available on IGTV as a video as well. Now, for you to know which one of those mites is actually true, y'all will just have to wait for it to happen and stay tuned. And also follow the Instagram page at Breaktime on Westside. Just saying. That being said, I think it's about time we get into these tweets, because we have a bunch of tweets and not enough time for all of them. Now the first one. So the first one says, guys, if you are asked to choose between a girl that can cook or the one that's good in bed, which one will you choose? And I don't know. Honestly, it's very hard when people just throw this question at guys and they expect like one universal answer, or it's one or the other. Honestly, I'm gonna give y'all the answer that I think I normally give to such questions, and it's probably the most simple answer that I can give to just about any question that comes up like this. And it is, it depends. Now, by all means, if any guy chose one or the other, they'd be justified. Like, if you asked me right now which I would choose, I'd probably choose one that's good in bed, because I'm not going to stay with her where her cooking skills are particularly important, because, well, the way I see it, I just want to get my dick wet. Like, I want to go relieve my raging boner whenever it is a situation, and if she just happens to be really good at it, then the better. It'll heavily decrease my chances of wanting to go and look for it elsewhere. That being said, if I was going for a long-term relationship, then I'd probably want a girl who can cook better. And especially if that long-term relationship was essentially leading to marriage, then obviously I'd want someone that can cook better. Not because I will stay with them, but it's just so that I know that I'm secure and I'm not just dealing with someone who doesn't know their way around the kitchen. It's just one of those things that guys will look for in most of the babes that they get, whether the guy is a chef or not. Her ability to cook is something that a lot of us guys, particularly men from this part of the world, usually like to take into consideration. So if you don't know how to cook as a lady in Kenya or East Africa or Africa, then I'm sorry, life might not be too good for you in the near future when you're looking for a husband. But that being said, if you're looking for a short-term relationship, you're not really looking at anything too long. you don't intend to go too far with her, or you're probably just looking at a situationship where it's just banging, then most def, just go for someone who's good in bed. And yeah, like that's just it. Go for someone who's good in bed. Also, that being said, well, when you actually look at it, you can be taught how to be a really good cook pretty easily through things like culinary school and cooking classes and YouTube videos and recipes and shit. But when it comes to banging good, well, no matter how much someone is taught, there's some things that are just an art form. Plus, it's not like every single group of girls discusses how they're going to bang better. Just saying. I have a group of friends that are girls and they just happen to tell me some of these things. So yes, I'd most probably go for a girl that's good in bed. But, well, like I said, it's because of the current situation I am in right now. When I'll be thinking of getting married, I'll probably switch the answer to look for someone who can cook. And cook very, very well. I really like my food. Anyways, in line with that, next question. Actually, this one isn't even a question. Ladies, you will not die if you text first and apologize. I promise you. Honestly, the reason why I included this here is just as a way to constantly remind ladies that, you know what? Sometimes it's okay if you actually choose to own up and take some responsibility and, I don't know, like make the first move. Because there's usually this whole thing of, oh, I'm the girl, so I'm not the one to text first. Oh, I'm the girl, so I'm the one who's right. Or just because you're the guy, if there's a problem with a relationship, you're the one that's supposed to, quell down the situation and shit. And it's mostly just wrong. I think as people, we need to learn to accept and be accountable for ourselves. And if you fucked up and you fucked up, or someone showed clearly that you fucked up, make sure you apologize and own up to it. Just apologize and agree that you'll try and be a better person. About texting first, there are obviously some women that will take the first shot, but it's not many, and a lot of girls are still scared of this. I urge you to start doing that, not just so that you can know what it feels like to be a guy and get rejected, because I honestly want you guys to go through that shit, but also so that you guys can sort of get some credit for understanding how it is that guys have to cope with shit and have to maneuver their way around social interactions. But anyways, that was just a quick side note. On to the next tweet. Oh, this one should be interesting. If Pornhub offered you $1 million to post a sex tape, would you do it? Well, that depends also. Yeah, same answer as the first tweet. That depends. Is it dollars or Kenya shillings? If it's Kenya shillings, then no. I don't think my sex tape is worth that much. Not that I'm a celebrity or anything, but I'm very picky about what it is that I choose to do with my body, and especially showing my privates. And in addition to that, well, it's always better if it's in dollars or pounds, because it's a much better currency, the way I look at it. So if I was offered $1 million to post up a sex tape on Pornhub, would I do it? Most definitely. I might have a bunch of conditions, but there's a pretty good chance I would, because the way I look at it, one, if you just post up a POV picture or a masturbation one, you're good for the most part. Your face isn't featured in shit. You're pretty good for the most part, and you don't even have to do that much in the name of shit like lighting and I don't know, mics and shit. Also, you won't just be making that million. If you happen to rack up enough views, you'll also start making money from Pornhub, sort of the same way that people on YouTube make ad revenue. So that works as well. Plus, the way I see it, if you can make money while having sex, then I don't see why it's such a bad thing, especially if it's on your terms and you're not being paid, I don't know, $7 an hour just so that you can film a scene that might take, I don't know, a bunch of different hours, and when you nut is controlled by a producer in the background that yells cut. That's just how I look at it. It's a fairly complicated way to look at it, but I try to look at it from where the positives are, and well, that's $1 million plus other things. So I'd probably choose to do it. But that being said, Pornhub isn't offering anyone besides celebrities that kind of money, and I'm not even sure if they have really offered celebrities that kind of money. But don't look forward to such shit. The only shit that you can look forward to where it's like, I'll offer you this much money to, I don't know, sleep with me or something, is probably if some sponsor or some sugar daddy or sugar mommy tries to sleep with you and, well, pretty much wants to pay you for that shit, whereby it's like prostitution at this point. And Pornhub is indirect prostitution, which isn't prostitution. Anyways, that being said, next tweet. So this is a retweet of another tweet, which I will get to in a second, but it says, body counts are a social construct. My vagina isn't counting how many dicks go in, so why should I? Now, this tweet was in response to a tweet that some other guy had made, which was, if she's over 24 and she's probably got 15 plus bodies, then nothing. It kind of went into continue into saying, why does this statement trigger so many people, especially when I didn't say if it was a good thing or a bad thing. Literally just tweeted a statement. Y'all stop being ashamed of yourselves and the lives you live. You're grown. Now, the reason why I think this statement triggered whoever it is that made the body counts tweet was because people are always being judged by their body counts. Now, body counts by all means are, yes, in and of themselves a social construct. There's nothing too special about a body count because it just means that you've slept with this many people. But this is the point where I'll say that, the numbers don't lie, but they don't necessarily tell the truth. Now, I probably will do an episode sometime in the future specifically on body counts, but especially when it comes to women, it's like having a high body count is a bad thing. With a guy, having a good body count is a good or a bad thing, depending on the number, because as opposed to different times, you'll find that sometimes if you're talking to a babe and you tell her you have a body count of 50, it's like, that's too many. But if you say that you have a body count of 5, that's too few, you're inexperienced. And to be quite honest, there is no right answer for what's your current body count. So, and most people usually tend to ask, what's your body count, especially like on the first date. Normally, I tell them, you know what, if you shouldn't answer that, or at least I shouldn't be telling you that, and you also shouldn't really tell me how many you have. As a friend of mine called Elsie and I were sort of discussing not too long ago, the body count doesn't mean that much because there's not much of a difference between you sleeping with 50 different guys and you sleeping with one guy 50 times. Like, there's not that big of a difference. Both times you've slept with someone 50 times, it's just that on one side it's different people, on another side it's one person. Provided that you are safe and you're responsible, I see nothing wrong with it. And that's probably part of the reason why I'm not against having a body count. I'm just against you, or at least I'm against people using it to judge other people. And speaking of judging, on to our final tweet. I know I've kind of bounced around, but Lori Harvey is a beautiful woman, but she letting Future smash Raw brings that stock down very low. I don't know. How would I say this? That's entirely up to you. But here's how I usually look at it. For those of you that don't know who Lori Harvey is, if I'm not wrong, she should be a model. And she's fairly famous. A bunch of rappers have talked about how they want to smash. Like there's Meek Mill busy talking about it here.
I got Lori Harvey on my wish list. That's the only thing I want for Christmas.
And when you look at it, fine, yes, she's a fine babe. She's alright. She's pretty good looking, the way I look at it. But there's this whole thing of if you let this and this person hit it, then it's like your bottom of the barrel or your stock drops. It's like when you hear people talking about how if you sleep with a girl who's not good looking, or should I say conventionally attractive, someone that your homies probably didn't find attractive or called ugly, it's like your stock drops as a man, or at least it's like your value as a guy goes down. And it doesn't just apply to men, it applies to women as well, because it's like you decided to go for bottom of the barrel. But usually I sit back and I'm like, why is that your problem? Hell, probably the guy had good dick. And probably if Meek Mill really wanted to hit it, it means that Shorty is like proper top class, and probably he might still want to hit it, but Future probably just had a good way with words. And I usually sit back and I think about when people talk about such shit, when you start putting a value to someone based on who they sleep with or who they don't sleep with. It's this whole social construct, if I can use that same term, whereby people are creating value out of something that's mostly baseless. Now, honestly, Future hitting raw versus him hitting with a condom, I feel like there's no difference, except the fact that Future would have probably felt max pleasure if he went in raw, which he did. And you thinking that the stock dropped because Future hit? Well, that's dependent on something else. Do you think that you're worthy enough to actually hit Lori Harvey? Like, I'm not saying that, it's a matter of having money or status or fame and shit, but do you really think that Lori Harvey would hit you? That's the question. So whenever you come in and you're like, no, if you hit that, that's bottom of the barrel. To be quite honest, her vagina is still the same. Last I checked, I don't think he got an STD or HIV or have any diseases. I don't think he got a yeast infection or anything. And, just the same way your dick will stay the same whether you hit a shorty that you might find pretty or ugly, is sort of the same way her vagina and herself is probably still the same afterwards. Fine, yes, she did produce a child, but fuck it. It's just what it is. Like, I don't think the so-called stock drops just because you hit a certain person. But if you're going to devalue someone by their ability to sleep with someone else, at least make sure you're above the value of the other person. For Future, he's a pretty successful human being. And by all means, women are hypergamous, so they will go for a super successful human being as opposed to just the regular ones. And that's part of the reason why women will almost hardly ever date down. So while you're busy talking about Future and Lori Harvey's stock going down, or at least her value going down after smashing Future, is your value better than Future's? That's just the question. Fine, the guy has like 8 baby mamas that we know of, but is your value higher than his? Are you a better person? And by better, you have to use a bunch of different measuring tactics. But the way I look at it, if I was into Lori Harvey before and Future hit, I'd probably still want to hit Lori Harvey. Not because Future hit, but because, well, it's Lori Harvey. Look at people for who they are, not for who they smashed. That's just what I'm trying to tell people over here. But anyways, I want to know what y'all think about this. On Twitter, it is at Bagaka the B and the D are capital. On Instagram, it is at Breaktime on Westside. Feed me your thoughts, feed me your criticisms. I want your feedback on all of this. I will see you guys next season on Tweetstreet, but while the break will be happening, I shall be seeing you for the next upcoming episodes. But from the series of Tweetstreet, I would like to say a very humble goodbye till the next season. Y'all take care. I will see you guys later. Peace. Honestly, I don't know how the rainbow community celebrates Pride Week. Do they get together and sing Rainbow Monkey or some shit? Or is that an LGBT State of the Union address that happens? I don't know. It's something that intrigued me ever since I actually found out about this holiday.